Hey there, welcome to the channel. My name is James, and here at 20th and 21st Movies, we are about all things cinema. All right, I wanted to come on here today and share with you my thoughts on a recent release from the Criterion Collection. This is a title I picked up on the very first day of the July Barnes & Noble 50% off Criterion Collection sale. It actually opened up on June 30th. That was the first day of the sale, and I had a chance to pick up this title among three titles called The Servant. This is the 1963 film from director Joseph Losey. It's the second film from Joseph Losey to enter the Criterion Collection. It comes in at spine number 1182, following up on the first film from Joseph Losey to enter the collection called Mr. Klein, which is spine number 1123, which came out, I believe, last year. I think it came out last year. And this is the 1976 film from Joseph Losey. So about 13 years after he did The Servant, he directed this film starring Alain Delon called Mr. Klein. I have not had a chance to watch this movie yet, but I've heard great things about it. I've only seen the first few minutes of it, but I have had a chance to watch The Servant. I have to tell you, I really enjoyed this movie, and I understand why people have been highly recommending this title to me. It is absolutely terrific. It is a psychological thriller, if you would, that deals with the ever-changing dynamics in a relationship between a master and a servant, or a lord of a manor, played by James Fox, and his servant, Hugo Barrett, played by Dirk Bogarde. The changing dynamics in their relationship over the course of this film is a big part of the narrative of this movie, and part of what makes the story so compelling is just seeing that relationship evolve over the course of the running time of this movie. And the story goes into some different twists and turns along the way that will surprise you, that will make you think, that will just keep you guessing all the way to the end. It is an absolutely stunning film that I truly understand why people have recommended this title to me. It is a terrific film. Dirk Bogarde plays Hugo Barrett. He plays the servant. Of course, Dirk Bogarde, 6 years after The Servant, would play in this Luchino Visconti film called The Damned, which is a fantastic film and a fantastic release from the Criterion Collection that I also recommend. It is spine number 1098 in the Criterion Collection, and it is a really, really good movie. So this is a dark, gritty movie that I highly recommend. Dirk Bogarde plays heavily in this film, but before The Damned, he played in this film called The Servant, and he plays Hugo Barrett. He is this diabolical servant. You'll see the character evolving over time, and that's part of the mastery of this film, is seeing his character arc over the film and seeing the character arc of James Fox's character, who plays the master or the lord of the manor. So in this film, you have four main characters. Of course, Hugo Barrett plays the servant. You have the master or the lord of the manor, played by James Fox. He plays Tony, who is the lord of the manor, or the master. Sarah Miles plays Vera. Vera is also a servant, if you would, and she has a very central role in this film and has an interesting relationship between these two men. You also have Wendy Craig, who is essentially the girlfriend of Tony, and she has an interesting relationship with him as well as with the servant Barrett. So those are the four main characters, and their dynamics, ever changing throughout this movie, is what gives this movie juice and intrigue and keeps you on the edge of your seat the entire time you're watching this movie. It is an absolutely fascinating tale all the way around. Here's a picture of the inside of the insert. Fantastic. This, of course, is some of the art on the inside. This is a very important scene in the movie. Very important scene involving the character Vera that you'll definitely appreciate, that really illustrates Joseph Losey as a director. Joseph Losey, I've never seen any of his films before. This is my first time seeing a Joseph Losey film, but you really get to appreciate his mastery as a director. And the special features talk about how Joseph Losey really sets the scene and really establishes a world within the sets that he establishes for his movies. In this particular movie, a lot of the action takes place in the house that's owned by Tony, this townhome, if you would. And so there's a lot that takes place within the spaces, moving between room to room. He puts you in the world in a way that makes you feel like you're actually inhabiting that space, and that you can appreciate the movement from one room to the next, and you can feel like you're part of a real house versus just some movie set. So Joseph Losey does a really nice job with that in The Servant, and the special features talks about how he does that for other films as well. So I'm looking forward to experiencing that on his other films. The story is phenomenal. You'll really enjoy this movie if you like psychological thrillers that keep you guessing and keep you thinking all the way through. So if you like those types of films, I think you'll like The Servant. But in terms of the technical aspects, how does this film look? This is a new 4K digital restoration with uncompressed monaural soundtrack. So this is a new 4K digital restoration. I will read about the master. It says it's presented in its original aspect ratio of 1.66 to 1. It is done by Studio Canal. It's a 4K restoration created from the 35mm original camera negative and the soundtrack negatives at Silver Stalk Restoration Limited in Slough, England. So this film overall looks very nice on this Blu-ray disc. It's a 4K restoration of the original 35mm negative, and it shows in how nice it looks on this Blu-ray disc. I only saw like one element at the very beginning during the title sequences where there was like a little speck in the corner there, like a hair or something. And other than that, it looks fantastic on this Blu-ray disc. I mean, it looks really nice, particularly the nighttime scenes. You had a lot of nice contrast. The overall treatment of the grayscale with this black and white image, I think this Blu-ray stood up very nicely. Now, there is supposedly a 4K release of this movie, and I can only imagine that this film would look even better on the 4K format in terms of the treatment of the grayscale and showing that dynamic range and the nuances of the different, gradients of blacks and grays along that grayscale. It's going to be probably a more confident image on that 4K, but as it stands, this Blu-ray is very nice, and I'm very satisfied with how this picture looks on the Blu-ray format. In terms of the audio, it is an uncompressed monaural soundtrack, and this is a pretty dialogue-heavy movie. I heard everything that everybody was saying pretty well, and I had no problems with the audio whatsoever. In terms of the special features, there are some very nice features on this edition. It is not an overly stacked edition from a special feature standpoint, but there are some very nice features on here, including a new program on director Joseph Losey by Imogen Sarah Smith, the film critic. She does a great job on all the features that she does for Criterion, and this is no exception. She talks about Joseph Losey as a director and does a great job breaking down his filmography and his approach to filmmaking. You have an interview with Losey, which was pretty rare, conducted by critic Michael Cement in 1976. You also have an interview from 1996 with the screenwriter Harold Pinter, the screenwriter for this film, which is nice to listen to. You also have interviews with actors Dirk, Bogarde, James Fox, Sarah Miles, and Wendy Craig, who are the four principals of this movie. You get a trailer, and then there's a nice essay included in here that I highly recommend that you read called A Cruel Servility by Colm Turbin. Is that Colm Turbin? Yeah, Colm Toibin. A Cruel Servility, which talks about this movie, puts it in historical context. This is post-war England that this is taking place. And it talks about the whole thing of class and how that's treated in England during this period and the roles of servants. And it's just a fantastic piece by Colm Toibin that I highly recommend that you read. But the fold-out has some nice art in it, nice pictures. On the back, you can read about the master, the restoration. And you see this picture here that is pictured up here. So nice little fold out. It's not a stapled booklet. I love stapled booklets. It is a fold out and it's serviceable and gives you a nice essay in there, some information about the film. But the real star of this edition from Criterion is just the film itself. This film is a knockout of a film. I definitely understand why people recommended it, and I am recommending this film to you because this is a terrific film to consider watching in the Criterion Collection. It's The Servant. It is spine number 1182. It's the 1963 film from director Joseph Losey, the director of Mr. Klon, and I highly, highly recommend it. Looks great on this Blu-ray disc all the way around with just minor blemishes here and there, but overall a fantastic looking Blu-ray image of this picture from 1963, and I highly recommend it. But let me know in the comment section below, what do you think of this film? If you've seen The Servant, what do you think of it? What do you think of Joseph Losey films, and what are your favorite films from Joseph Losey? And what other titles are you looking to pick up as part of this 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble? Let me know all that goodness in the comment section below, and as always, thanks for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time at the movies. Peace.